Playoff chalk. The first round of the MLR 2025 playoffs are all complete. The favorites got the job done. We break it all down on this week's episode of the Fantasy Rucker Show on what came out of this past weekend and who is set up to match up in an exciting conference finals. The Fantasy Rucker Show starts right now.
Where rugby and the world of fantasy sports collide. Welcome to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, talking all things rugby from the MLR to leagues around the world. We're on top of it. Headphones on, pads off. This is the Fantasy Ruckers Show. Now, here are your hosts, Ryan Yee, Matt Yee, and Devin Vanderpool.
What's up, everybody? This is episode 159 of the Fantasy Rucker Show. Thank you so much to our Fantasy Ruckers League members, our community members, and everyone else tagging along on this journey of making fantasy rugby a reality in MLR with you each and every single week. Of course, Matt Yee, Devin Vanderpool. I am Ryan Yee. Boys,
what's that?
It's been a while since we've all been in the house. Maddie's back from Mexico. Vandy, back from your celebrations, whatever you did last week to celebrate your listener league. And we're finally back in the house to talk some playoff Major League Rugby action this week after our conference semifinals that took place over the weekend. Boys, good to have you back here on the show. It always feels good when the three of us are back and reunited.
Wonder to activate. We all put our ring together.
Vanny, we're the Power Ranger. Remember, we're the Power Ranger.
Yeah, which one?
I'm
are
the
you
head.
again? I forget.
Ryan's the foot. You're the
foot.
third leg.
I thought it was the head. I'm pretty sure we decided on the brain.
You're the big sledgehammer swinging between the legs.
Oh, God. Yeah. This is how we're going to start the show, as you're wearing a Wiener hockey jersey, huh? That's how we're going to start this show?
Hey, you know what? He is what he...
Call it as a shit.
We're going crazy here on the Fantasy Rucker Show, as you can hear, because we don't have any fantasy MLR right now.
And it's playoff time. And we're getting excited for the finals. The boys, I haven't seen Vandy for like 25 years.
It's true.
So we're getting excited.
We are getting
a little bit of a wiener.
We are getting excited. So we'll talk more about that. We mentioned it on our last episode about the Fantasy Ruckers taking down Rhode Island. Well, more details on that coming up here on the Supreme Commissioner Yee's League Update. Of course, we'll have the news dump, talk about the latest happenings from around the league. Of course, go over that conference semifinal round over the weekend that had no shortage of drama and also some maybe expected results. And then we'll get into our predictions heading into the conference finals. And hey, boys, doesn't usually happen, but we got some betting lines to talk about this week. I guess all your local sports books are getting in and getting all worked up here in the playoffs and making sure they're out early so that people can get that action. So we'll talk about that here coming up on the TFR Betting Challenge brought to you by Betstamp as well. I guess it's the first time since we've been on the show all together here since our incredible Fantasy Ruckers Championship outside of Maddie calling in from Cancun. We've had some time to reflect. And let me just get your thoughts, boys, on the entirety of the Fantasy MLR season. Obviously, it's more fun when you're winning, which we did, of course, as the Fantasy Ruckers. We're going to milk this. We're going to milk this out as long as we can. Vandy taking me down in the listener league, which was tough to see, but your first playoff appearance equals some hardware that obviously you get to take
one,
home.
Baby.
Yeah, but boys, a pretty fun Fantasy MLR season, I must say.
Best one yet.
Yeah, pretty good. We had the Wicked platform that's just consistently improving. We had the Wicked season. We had so many more leagues, and and we ended up taking the win, at least in the main Fantasy Ruckers League. And one of our boys took the win here. Mr. 500 takes the win and can no longer be called Mr. 500 because he's Mr. Champion now moving forward. So, yeah, what a year. What a year we had.
What a year. Couldn't have said it better myself. If you want a recap of the crazy year that happened in the circles of Fantasy MLR, check out the fantasyruckers.com. It's there for everyone to see. It's on record. It's on record, Vandy. So put that on your resume. You can put the link to your championship win on your resume and see how what good that does you. Put it right there beside the Fanshawe College degree there, huh?
That's
Mm.
right. That's right,
There you,
buddy. I hang it
there you
that
go.
proud.
So, hey, if you're out there and you're interested in learning more about fantasy MLR again, check out thefantasyruckers.com. Give us a follow at the Fantasy Ruckers as well on all your different social media platforms, punching out great content over there. We had a little bit of interaction, Vandy. That was pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, you
Utah
know what? Love to
Warriors
see
giving you a
it.
shout out.
Love to get a shout out from the boys. It was great to see. They know about the love and support. I seen the little A they threw in there. They know what that means.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. So cool to see the shout out from your favorite team. And obviously, it did at least some part in a big win over the weekend, which we'll talk about in just a second. Again, all that content that people are interacting with can be found at thefantasyruckers.com. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, thank you very much. Like, subscribe down below, hit the bell. We do
Ding.
appreciate it. The support does go a long way. If you're listening on the pod, subscribe. Have that downloaded to your preferred podcast platform each and every single week. And lastly, join the Discord. Community is great. Link down below to do that. Really, really fun stuff, and is how we have communicated throughout the season. How our community members have kind of gone back and forth, especially during the peak of playoffs. All right, let's get right into it. We start off by chatting about the latest from around the league.
News dump.
All right, this one's a quick one. We have to get right into those playoff results, but we do have some things that we need to chat about that have been announced over the course of the past handful of days or so. The biggest one is another retirement announcement. Obviously, we talked about it the past couple of episodes, the big retirement by Paul Lasike of the Utah Warriors. Hopefully that they can finish off his last season in his professional career on a high note. But another one is added to the list. He won't have a chance to end in a storybook ending, but either way has had a stellar career from Super Rugby to the USA Eagles to, of course, Major League Rugby with the San Diego Legion. Marcel Brocky has called it a career, and he hangs up the boots. The San Diego Legion putting out an announcement that, the San Diego Legionnaire is calling it a career following this 2025 season, and now is done here with his professional career.
Yeah, what a year for the guy. I mean, well, not just year, what a career for the guy.
Mhm.
Unfortunate that it had to be riddled with injuries this year, at least a concussion this year that looked pretty tough. But it's great to see that, a guy with his caliber, his kind of legacy in USA Rugby gets to finish it off in the MLR and with the team that I think he has been with for his entire MLR career.
Sounds
Could be
right.
wrong there. Jam
That
delay
sounds
could
right.
definitely correct me, but yeah, Vanny sounds right. And yeah, just a legend of USA Rugby. It's unfortunate that this year or next year we're not going to see two legends of USA Rugby in the league anymore, but their name will live on.
Yeah, a handing off of the torch to, I guess, some of the younger USA players coming through the league. But yeah, I mean, from he did. Hey, actually, Maddie, to correct you there, Marcel
Correct me.
Bracchi actually
Right, he
played
was at the Gilgronis.
the Gilgronis. Let's
You
throw it.
forget because old Gilly,
The
Yeah,
Joe Gronies.
let's throw it back. I haven't said that name in a while. In our first year of fantasy MLR back in 2022, but since then has represented the San Diego Legion, a guy that has had a pretty stellar career, and even more impactful, I think, from a fantasy sense. At least last year, scoring a high of 16.4 fantasy points, kind of giving you that utility between the back three and center position. A pretty steady guy, and was always available to be a solid streamer for you if you ever needed
Yeah.
a center or back three play. So,
Great plug
again,
and play guy.
yeah, congratulations to Marcel Brocky. Cool to see that. And another, like Maddie said, USA Eagle hanging up the boots, and one that will be missed, including in fantasy circles. Moving forward here in terms of MLR representation on the international stage. Rugby Canada and the USA Eagles both making announcements to their summer test squads. At the time of the recording of this podcast, it's actually imminent right around now that on Will Hooley's show, the rugby rundown along with Alex Corpusero that they are making an announcement to the July Test Series squad for the USA Eagles, and that has been announced. So we obviously don't have that list as of now, as of the recording of this podcast, but by the time it's released, that list will be out, and I'm sure there is no shortage of MLR players on there that we can imagine. But the list that we do have right now, though, is Rugby Canada's announcement of the 59-player extended squad that they have released. And obviously, a lot of notable names on this one as well, despite there being no Canadian team in Major League Rugby. Still, 27 MLR players on the 59-man squad, including the names of Andrew Quattrin, friend of the show, Andrew Coe, friend of the show, and other guys like Ben Lesage, Brock Gallagher, Noah Flesh, Matt Awaru, all these guys, some notable names here for Canada that will be representing here for the 2025 matches.
Yeah. We'll see, I guess, the fruition of the again, the departure of the Arrows and that impact, but also, you think about all these Canadians that have had an impact in the MLR this year. You look at guys like Lucas Rumble, you look at guys Josiah Mora, Brock Webster, who had a huge impact over the weekend. All of these Canadians that are in the Andrew Quattrin, all these guys that are in the league right now, you're just hoping to see a steady improvement again, because Canadian names are growing. Canadian names are increasing their impact in this league and on teams that are winning. So we're hoping to see, as three Canadians, hoping to see an improvement there, because Canadian rugby has sucked.
Yeah. So we'll see how these 59 players pan out here this 2025 season, international season. And again, we'll have a closer look at that USA Eagles summer squad for the July Test Series when that is announced. Obviously been out here at the recording of this podcast. With that being said, Maddie, your sources saying anything to you heading into this week, or can we move on to a nice little update from the Supreme Commissioner?
No, I think I don't have any sources right now. I think the only thing that maybe I'll shout out is we are Super Rugby fans. Chiefs Crusaders finals this upcoming weekend. That'll be a big one. And there's
Chiefs,
a bunch
baby.
of finals going on around the world in different club leagues. But let's get into it. Let's get into MLR playoffs, because we got a big one coming up too.
Yeah, it is true. It is true. All right, let's get into a update from your Supreme Commissioner.
Why the heck do we need these?
Yeah, you know what? Get
We
sick of
don't
this.
need these anymore. What's the
Dude.
point of this?
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye, hear ye.
Hear ye, hear ye. Here is Supreme Commissioner Yee with a Fantasy Ruckers League update. I mean, I can pass on this segment, Maddie. I was going to give you a nice little shout out here. We finally have the weekly challenge numbers in.
Well, I already know I won.
Okay, do you want to just move on?
Yeah, let's just move on, because I don't know. I've been winning all year. Aren't we? I think the people are just getting tired.
This what makes it hard, right? I had it in our rundown.
They just get tired of hearing it. They just get tired of hearing rock and rolls in first place. Rock and rolls in first place.
Some people's gardens full of flowers, right?
After week after week.
I liked last week's episode when Vandy was humble in winnings.
Week after week after week, beating people by 40.
You know what? I wasn't allowed to just come to stroll into playoffs and then talk all that crap for winning one. I had to be humble. But I tell you, Maddie, if you were on that episode, there ain't no way I was humble.
I will say, you guys bring the worst out of each other.
Yeah, that's what we do.
But that's why I love you guys. That's
It's
why
like drinking
either way,
buddies, you know?
we'll give a shout out here very quickly. Matt, you are the winner of our weekly challenge for the season long. Numbers tallied up. I will say the Fantasy Ruckers, whoever runs that account, finished off in second, won the last week of the year.
People just know that Ryan had 2 shots every week.
I couldn't fill it in this week, so I actually filled in the Fantasy Ruckers one this week, so I actually won.
Okay, we can say that.
Just know Ryan had 10 shots at this. He had 10 shots every week.
Hawks 58 finishing in third this season, and yours truly 6th. Vandy finishing in 10th. So you put all your mojo into the listener league, forgot a little bit about the fantasy, the weekly challenge. But that's okay. That's okay.
You know what?
Limited time in a day. That's okay. Right. I do want to mention, though, and take the time here on our Supreme Commissioner's update to just remind people that the Fantasy Ruckers are heading out and shipping out to Rhode Island.
Yes, sir.
We are going to be heading to the championship. We're super excited. Friday evening, the Fantasy Ruckers are going to be there. We're going to be attending Fan Fest. The announcements were made by the league of those logistics happening at the Guild in Pawtucket. The Fantasy Ruckers will be doing a meetup there for all of our supporters. So while you're enjoying Fan Fest, come out, say hi to us. We'll be with American Rugby Rising's Bill Baker, who's obviously in our OG league as well. So we're super excited to interact with all you fans out there as we celebrate the championship weekend in Rhode Island. And then lastly, we're going to have a fun episode that weekend. A pre-kickoff show brought to you by the Fantasy Ruckers and American Rugby Rising. Myself, Bill Baker, and of course, Matt Yee and Devin Vandy Vanderpool will be hosting a pre-game kickoff show. Hopefully, going to have some fun guests on there. Going to talk about the build-up to the game. Going to be super cool. All weekend long, we're going to have really, really cool giveaways. The green screen might kind of fade this out, but here's a little completely fade out right here. A little bit of a preview of some of the items that we'll be giving away that weekend. Got some nice little beer koozies for our followers. That's going to be fun. And we got some
I'm going to run through about 7 of those on the weekend.
Yeah, well, we got a lot of them here at the Fantasy Ruckers.
Minus the koozie.
The Fantasy Ruckers warehouse. And a whole bunch of other merch coming in. I know a lot of people have been asking for Fantasy Ruckers merch. We also got some exclusive championship weekend merch that we'll be giving away as well. We'll be previewing that on next episode. But a whole bunch of fun stuff. Hope to see you there. Again, Friday evening. All the details will be coming out. Fan meetup. And then we do have a pregame kickoff show ahead of the kickoff of the championship match at Centerville Bank Stadium. Super excited to see that. Lastly, just looking ahead, once the playoffs do wrap up, off-season officially begins, and that includes the fantasy MLR off-season, where we'll start to break down rankings, announce the team of the year, and have our yearly Fantasy Ruckers Awards that will dish out. That Vandy, Maddie, and I said a couple episodes ago that I think the Fantasy Ruckers Awards are right up there with an Oscar, Grammy, maybe even the Nobel Peace Prize.
What's that one off the Office?
One off.
The one that they did at the Chili's.
Yeah. I would say this one and that one rank high, baby.
There you go. So, hey, lots of fun stuff to come. Championship weekend celebrations with the Fantasy Ruckers. Join us. And then, a full off season of fun fantasy MLR stuff, because the grind already begins. We're looking ahead to the Fantasy MLR 2026 season.
I'm still basking in this win. I ain't looking at nothing but titles, baby. Nothing but titles.
Well, hey, let's talk about the weekend that was here and soak in the exciting drama we had in our conference semifinals.
Vandy, it's the Dundies.
The Dundies.
Quick tap recap.
All right, time for our conference semifinals quick tap recap. It was a fun weekend. We had a handful of matches, 2 on each side of the conferences, of course. And didn't know what we were in store for, but suitable, and maybe a little bit of a spoiler alert of the title of this episode that we are calling Playoff Chalk.
Playoffs.
All of the favorites winning their matchups this weekend. All the home teams winning their matchups. So we go into the conference finals with what a lot of people probably had on their predictions list. Not necessarily us, though, because we did try to throw in some of those upsets in there and made it for a interesting weekend, but definitely some exciting matches. Either way, let's talk about some of these matches. And we opened up on Saturday with a opening matchup here on the afternoon time, or the evening time, I should say, between the Chicago Hounds and Old Glory DC side. To lay the land of how this looks, Chicago, Old Glory really going back and forth to start this matchup. And then in the second half, Chicago really pulling away with things, ending up with a 27-16 victory. Maddie, thoughts on this Eastern Conference battle between the Hounds and Old Glory DC?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Old Glory DC, to me, if you look at the start of this game, looked like they were possibly on a run to an upset. And And I was just looking at this game and trying to figure out, is Old Glory DC going to pull this off? And they look good. The first 20, they look good. They look good with ball in hand. I think they were a little bit ambitious at times. And they definitely made a lot of handling errors because of that ambitiousness on attack. But to me, I think the Chicago Hounds really pulled away with this when it comes to defending within the 15s. I think they did fantastic in that sense. But to like their line out set piece was mediocre, one that you expect to be really great. And they really couldn't get any momentum in that first half for sure. Like you said, Rye, to me, I know Chicago won, but my takeaway from this is that Chicago just doesn't look like a championship team.
Which is interesting heading into a rematch of the Eastern Conference Finals last year. But we will talk about that in just a bit. Either way, I do want to say, though, one guy that does stand out to me on Chicago is how good is Peyton Wall? How good is this kid? Because, I mean, scores another try in this matchup. I want to pull up his fantasy stats because he was...
Rookie of the year?
I mean, the guy...
He played 3 games. He can't be Rookie of the Year.
The guy played... the guy played 4 total matches, 4 total matches, and or started, I should say, 4 total matches. Scored 2 tries in that time, and he scores a try in this one. Yeah, I mean, I did see that on James Dealey's MLR stats post about a Rookie of the Year contender. But I mean, you can't deny what this guy's been able to do.
During the game, man.
What lends me to this
conversation? Say a lot of things during the game.
True.
Okay, either way, what lends the conversation is where is Peyton Wall going in fantasy drafts next year? Like the upside.
Hey, do we ruin his career and take him first, or
yeah? I mean, you might.
But
all I know is that I don't know. I don't know about next year. Who knows? He could be on literally a new team. He could be in a whole new situation. Nobody knows. I'm not even going to make that. Ryan, that's a silly question to ask. We are still in 2025.
No, but I'm just saying, though. I guess
question.
It leads me to say, are you impressed with Peyton Wall?
Yes. I'm impressed.
At all, you weenie.
He's done well fantasy-wise.
But he
should be in a U.S. jersey.
Yes. I think that is
that's all the statement I can make. I'm not going to make predictions about 2026 draft.
Okay. Either way,
probably he'll end up going undrafted or the end of the draft.
Big one there. Either way, scoring the first try of the match here, 37 minutes in, and then again to Maddie's point, Chicago at least getting away with it. There was a post of Simon Cross talking post matchup about how just kind of not taking advantage of opportunities, not disappointed in the lack.
He dropped the ball a lot.
Yeah, not disappointed in the effort. He said the effort was there, and really Old Glory DC had it in their grasp. Again, just some errors that obviously cost them here. I think the score does not necessarily reflect how close or maybe the outcome that could have happened from this. But either way, you got to capitalize on those mistakes, and Chicago was able to do that. And that's what good teams do in these types of situations. And they have bought their ticket into the Eastern Conference Finals. Any other takeaways from this matchup?
Nah, just Chicago is not going to win the championship.
Okay, well let's talk about
it's dope.
Let's skip. I want to skip the other Saturday matchup and kind of take a turn. We're gonna jump ahead a little bit because let's get this one out of the way. Let's talk about the other side of the Eastern Conference bracket. The New England Free Jacks, Miami Sharks. Maddie on record saying that this one was going to be close. And the line comes out at I believe plus 9.5. Was it? Drops down to, I believe, plus 7.5, I want to say. But even then, Miami, not even close in this one. New England kind of rolled through. The experience showed. Bellicana scores, I believe, according to James Dealey, like the 3rd fastest try in MLR history, I believe, or something like that. I mean, New England kind of seems like classic New England, where they're going to just turn it up here in playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I underestimated New England when I made that statement. Who knows? That's fine. I don't mind. But at the end of the day, like Miami just was not in a position to get anything going in this game. I think I saw somebody on Reddit saying that this game was closer than what the score suggested. I didn't see that. I didn't see that at all. You watch this game, New England Free Jacks put on an absolute defensive clinic in this game. Their line speed was incredible. they put Miami under so much pressure. Miami never adjusted, and Miami just continued to not be able to get anything going because they kept spinning the ball out wide and they kept meeting Ben Lesage in the outside channels and just having nothing to show for it. Yeah, it was just too sloppy. I just think Miami never looked like they were going to win this game and never looked like they were in this game. Um, and yeah, I got to give kudos to Brock Webster for that disallowed try. Shouldn't have been disallowed. It was
Oh
super
man, that
weak.
was beautiful.
It was incredibly weak to disallow that try. That should have been kept on the board. But it is what it is. New England Free Jacks deserve the win. And Ryan, when we talk about championship teams, New England Free Jack look like a championship team.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Honestly, I kind of see where that guy, whoever this fellow is on Reddit that you read, I agree with him in a way. I think if you look, they had like two knock-ons, like early on in the offensive, like Miami did in the offensive zone, and then they went to
Yeah,
field that kick in their own end, knocked it on, and that was kind of the killer. That was the
true.
nail in the coffin. That was,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you could see the motivation just go down from there. But I think obviously easier said than done. If you would have just converted those, different game,
Yeah.
obviously. But I think there
But
was a window there where I was like, damn, this could be a game. And then kind of like what we were saying, good teams just find a way to win. Well, New
yeah.
England just they suffocate you and then they still pour it on. It's an amazing way they could play defense and offense. Like it,
Yeah, and it was to your point, man. Like it was when you say suffocate, like they didn't just do it with defensive line pressure; they turned them
yeah,
around. Like it looked like they had a goal of like we're gonna turn this team around, we're gonna pin them in the corner. The number of times that they put a tactical kick in behind,
oh,
and just pin Miami in the corners inside their 22 was just ridiculous. And you saw it so many times. You saw so many times that Ben Lesage was right there to make the tackle. It was impressive the way that they played. I was really impressed by New England,
yeah.
and I'm really impressed moving forward into this next match.
Is it impressive before I want to touch on kind of the Miami side of things? How more impressive does it make it that New England's doing this? It feels like just whoever they have in that starting 15, right? Like last year, you had guys like Jason Putros, Reese McDonald, right? And then this year, you're doing it with Dan Hollinshead at 10. You don't have Reese McDonald. You got Harrison Boyle coming in. Obviously, Wayne Vanderbank coming off the bench. So you're doing it now with LaRue Milan and Ben Lesage. Like, it
Best
feels
defensive
like it's a
centers.
turnstile of different players coming through these doors when it comes to the starting 15, and yet they still are able to consistently put out a good performance every single time when it matters most. And it feels like that's what New England Free Jacks rugby is all about. And I don't know if it's a culture thing. I don't know
It
if it's a
is.
coaching
I'm starting to
thing.
think it's a
It is.
city thing. I think if you are just called New England, you just win. I think you
Yeah,
are
talk
just
about it.
Well,
automatically good in the playoffs.
number four
Telling you.
draft pick.
Yeah, I mean, as a Patriots fan, I mean, you throw it back 5 more years. I like to hear that. But it's true. It's true. It does feel like that in a
It's
way
just a
that
winning city, man. It's in the air. You guys
yeah.
they got steroids in the water or something. I don't
I,
know.
I mean,
Ah, those are in Seattle.
you can argue though. You can argue right though that that New England Free Jacks team is the most successful Boston team right now going for them, which is pretty crazy to see. I mean, you're
That's
going off
crazy.
back-to-back shields. Patriots aren't around anymore. The Celtics got knocked out of the playoff. Boston is not a
Bruins.
playoff team anymore. Yeah, the Bruins. Yeah, it's interesting. Either way, it's still so impressive what New England's able to do. Quickly here, what I just wanted to say from a Miami side of things. Do you still call this a successful season for Miami?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
I think the
100%.
Yes,
expectations
they
heading
were
to this
the
was not there.
worst team. We talked about this last week, Van. You missed it. They were the worst team for the first 5 weeks. We had them at the bottom. We had them below the anthem. And look where the anthem are. And look where Miami is. Miami in their first playoff game as a franchise.
Yep.
And putting up a fight. Like Vandy said, like they put up a fight. They had their chances.
Yep.
They just ran into a real hot New England Free Jacks team.
Yep.
All right, let's move on now back to Saturday and get to the match that I know Vandy's been itching to talk about, and that is the Utah Warriors racking up their first ever home playoff win in franchise history with a 23-21 victory over the Seattle Seawolves. Seattle was a scary team heading into these playoffs. They were hot, but Utah somehow weathers the storm. They come out the gates pretty quick here. You got tries by Jordan Trainer, two of them in the first half. They jump up to an early 17-0 lead, and then Seattle starts chipping away. But time is just not on their side, and they end up squeezing
Uh,
away victory 23-21. We almost came in here on this show with a conversation of Utah doing Utah things and only playing one half of rugby, but somehow they find a way and they have bought themselves a ticket into the Western Conference Final. Vandy, how good does this victory feel? May not have been the way that you wanted it, but nonetheless, still in the conference finals.
You know what? I tell you right now, it doesn't matter what half you score more, and as long as you score more at the end of it. All right?
Fair enough.
I don't give a crap if we allow teams to come back unless you come all the way back. It don't matter. I mean, Joe Motto, if he punches that early one in, we're talking every game. I mean, even that one between Trainer and Mono that was just fumbled, that was wide open too early on. But you know what? Great game. Yeah, it did feel typical fashion. You could feel it growing. I thought that yellow on Trainer was weak. And then I just felt like it's seeping in that little seed of doubt. You feel it crawling in your neck. You start getting agitated. Get up off the couch, pace around a little. But no, you know what? D'Angelo Luila, he hits those kicks from half, those penalty kicks. It
Yep.
don't matter. You want to give us a penalty, he'll knock it down from wherever. That guy is lethal. And you know what? I thought the difference maker in that, and I think it's been great all year, is our scrum. Our scrum is just it's so lethal. Scored another one off it. I think the announcer even said, I can't remember what point, he goes, it's just a different game they're playing. These scrums are different than any other team. There's monsters, the big boys up front, getting it done. Yeah, I mean, what do you want? What else you want? You want me to keep going? Like, it's
You know what? I'll,
beautiful.
I'll let it all out. I know you want to show them the logo
Yeah,
on your t-shirt. Show this.
this one? Who? These
Yeah,
guys?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember last
Let
year
it
when you
out.
guys said you want to pick a different team? And I said not a chance. I think that was in the off season when we had a what we called it? A max.
Mass exodus.
And I was like, no, I'm not switching teams. What do you think? I'm gonna jump sides? Everyone thought I was a Legion fan 3 years ago.
Maddie, tactical sense. What'd you see from this one?
Scrum. Tell them about
Is
the
it time to
scrum.
buy in? Is it time to buy into these Utah Warriors?
Tell them about the scrum,
Uh,
Maddie.
I mean, look, so the first half for me, I think was when I watched the first half of Utah, I said this is a team that can win the championship. They were sound defensively, they were absolutely stellar offensively as usual. That wasn't what I was looking for. It was the defensive side of the ball. I thought they played fantastic. I think it's unfortunate that they couldn't do that for 80 minutes. Like Vandy said, though, a win's a win. You score more points throughout the entire game. It is what it is. I think it's unfortunate that it dropped off in the second half. That came down with some discipline issues. They got yellow cards.
What do you think about that
But
trainer yellow? Be honest with me. If you're going in to wrap a guy and he throws it at your arm, is that really
I think
a deliberate knockdown?
look, the only reason it was a yellow was because of
It was a try. Yeah, I
it
get
was
it.
because that it would have been a try.
Yeah,
I think
I get
that's
it.
the only reason it really was a yellow. Yes, I think it was a little harsh. I've seen worse yellows for sure. But I've seen softer yellows for deliberate knock-ons too. So I think it is what it is. Like deliberate knock-ons, when you do that, it's like a ref almost just has to
Okay,
pull
and
out
I
the
got another
card. So like
question
it is
for
what
you.
it is.
When we subbed in Logan Crowley, he taps
Yeah.
Buddy on the leg, gets a yellow for that. What do you think? Or he didn't get a yellow, he got a
That's weak. Nah, that's weak. That one's weak.
Okay,
I
I
don't
thought so. I
like
thought that was
we've
ridiculous because
been
we were going to score.
we've been doing that. We've been doing that like nines. We've been doing that. That's an age old like
Okay,
you give them a little you let them know that hey, you stop slowing down the ball
yeah,
or you're gonna get a little bit of a raking. That's just the game. I thought that was weak. I think the ref was just giving Seattle another chance to go.
I think so.
So I agree with you. But on the Seattle side, I'll finish off with Utah. They deserve to win. 100% deserve to win. I think that they look like a team that can go and make a run. On the Seattle side, man, did they ever, you think about what could have been with this squad in this game. So many times you think about their set piece, the set piece that's been solid for most of the year, struggling. And you think about an offense who's been solid for at least the past 5 weeks of the season, struggle in that first half, and they finally figure out in the second half, like we know where to attack. You start attacking the 13 channels, and they start producing, especially being a man up and stuff like that. For me, like the fact that Seattle blew that last set piece, that last line out, that could have won them the game, that probably should have won them the game. The fact that they blew that in the fashion that they did, for me, just summed up Seattle and that day for them completely. They had their chances. They could have won. They should have won. And honestly, they should have won, but they just didn't.
Almost almost
Shouldn't have won.
encapsulates what type of season it was for them.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
start off slow, right? And you saw the potential with this team, but sometimes just not capitalizing on certain matchups and in certain
Yeah.
games. And at the end, it bites you in the bum and you
They,
kind of fall short.
yeah. And I think big things like Dan Creel being out, that
Yeah.
was huge for them.
Hmm.
I think Rhino Herbst was suspended. That's huge for them.
Yeah.
Rhino Herbst is a huge part of that forward pack.
JP
Um,
Smith being injured for a large portion of the year. I know he
yeah,
played in this one, but hard to find
yeah,
that
but
continuity.
yeah, but like Seattle, they were right there. They could have pulled this. They could have done the upset. They didn't. Utah deserved to win.
Yeah.
Outside of that second try, definitely should have been called back.
Yeah. And to your point, Maddie,
100%.
this
Vanny, that
was
second try was 900% should have been called back. I don't know how they missed it. I don't know how they missed it. I watched the ball go off Nick Ben's head into his hand and forward, and I'm like, that. If I look at the rule book, that they showed that replay like 5 times, and the TMO has decided to chime in on every other play except this one. They're like,
You know what?
I don't know. Maybe
Sometimes
I'm
you
missing something in
overanalyze
the
the
rules.
game too much. He's going in for
You
a
know-
tackle. Like, I'm sorry. If you're losing the
Hey,
game
so
off
was Jordan
that,
Trainer, and he got a yellow.
that's right. So you know what? They
So-
got it back in full, and then we fumbled the next one. So you know what? I don't wanna hear it.
Anyways, Vanny, we're out. With all that being said, Utah deserves to
That's
be here.
right. We're going over that shield.
all
And
right.
yeah, they deserve to be here.
And like Maddie said last episode, Seattle, at least to him, was, and I think for a lot of us, was one of the scariest
They were
teams
the
heading
best
into the
underdog
playoff.
here. Out of
Yeah.
all these games, the best underdog here.
It's true. It's true. So again, 23-21 victory for the Utah Warriors. All right. Let's head on to this last matchup, one that we finally got around to playing.
Thunder.
Part of the reason why this
Thunder.
podcast was delayed in being released. Obviously, weather issues in Houston, delaying the game from Sunday. They kept pushing it back. And a great point was made, I believe, by I feel like we're shouting him out all episode, but he's obviously a huge community member of the Major League Rugby community. But James Dealey of MLR Stats mentioned that it's a pretty dang good thing, according to his tweet, that the Houston Sabercats own their field and play at a field that they exclusively kind of have the flexibility in kind of making these moves. Because had it been any other stadium that may have had scheduling conflict issues, would have been a little bit tricky, I think. But even when you delay that match to Monday, you could see the conditions on the field, on just how choppy it was, how wet it was, how soft the field was. I believe they had a groundskeeper, the head groundskeeper, on during the broadcast.
Oh yeah.
And he was talking about how they were getting like 6 inches of rain throughout that time and saturating the field. And as a 9 that used to play like that, those conditions were I hated those types of conditions playing. Maddie, I think you differed with me on that. I think you loved playing in the rain.
I like when it's not raining.
Yeah.
And the ground's wet. You had a nice little
it's all
slide
bloody,
going.
Bloody.
Yeah.
A nice little slide going. But I had the little, the stickum. The stickum helped me out.
Yeah, didn't get that point out of that. But either way, the Houston Sabercats finally get to play on Monday against RFC LA. And it was an interesting match because it did feel like Houston was really dominating, right?
Yeah.
LA kind of getting back into it, staying with it, and they had their opportunities to win. And it almost seemed like it was playing in all their favor, right? You go in with 2 yellow cards in the final 5 minutes, and then you have the explosive play at the end where you have numbers out wide. And I'm thinking, watching this game, right? It couldn't have been more poetic. And I think I'm going to clip that highlight and like pin it onto our socials of the fantasy season was like for Semi Kunatani, because I think it was encapsulated by that one play in which they had 4 players out wide. It seemed like a automatic try. Someone just needed to run a switch back in, and Semi Kunatani gets the last guy on the outside and steps out of bounds. Line out, time taken, game done. Houston wins this 27-21. I did think that the better team did end up winning this match, but we know how RFCLA and how explosive they are and how they keep themselves because of their offense in these matches. They had the chance there. They weren't able to capitalize at the end. And again, similarly to Seattle, almost encapsulates what their season was like this 2025 year.
Yeah, I mean LA just sparks of brilliance, sparks of magic from that offense.
Reese McDonald,
Um,
man.
Reese McDonald, yeah, for sure. Reese McDonald, just you love watching them play, win or lose. You love watching the way that they play. You love watching the way that they are just committed to moving the ball and playing fast flowing, fun and exciting rugby, and you love that. And on the other side of the ball, you have a Houston team that just was. I mean, I fell asleep. I think every time that they had the ball outside of LA's 22.
Yeah.
We talked with Cole about this. I think in the last offseason, it's just that the weather played perfect for them.
Yeah.
They were good defensively, and they just said, "We're gonna keep kicking the ball back to you. We're gonna make you run it down. You're gonna run down the field. You're gonna make mistakes. We know you're gonna make mistakes." And then we're going to kick it into the corner and we're going to maul it in twice and score a try. Or we're going to get a break. We're going to end up in your 22. And then we're just going to run. We're going to make maximum one pass and just use our forwards for 10, 15 phases and try to beat you down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just back to that boring, physical, just territory rugby. And honestly, at some points, I was like, I want LA to win. I don't want to watch this for another week because it was just brutal. But yeah,
I mean, I
Houston ended
guess
up
the
winning.
difference though here is that we've seen spurts where Houston strays away from that game. But I think to your point, Maddie, that the weather and the
The weather
conditions and
permitted
everything
it.
played
Yeah.
into that favor. So if they already have that in their system, already have that baked into what Houston Sabercats rugby is about, I know not most
Yeah.
appeasing to the eye and not the most fun match to watch, but from a strategic standpoint, I mean, why wouldn't you take care of that strength? And it'll be interesting. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
And
Utah being the home team, they got some good conditions out there, and we see how Houston is going to be able to do this, and how Utah is obviously going to combat that. You can almost argue that Utah is a better version of the RFCLA squad. We talked about that last week, but yeah, to your point,
Well,
Maddie, not the
well,
prettiest thing to watch. RFCLA
yeah.
had it in their hands, could have come away with the upset, but they keep it chalk with that error at the end, and Houston wins it 27-21.
Well, yeah. I mean, we'll get into it in our next segment. But I got a take for I think this looks good for Utah, but we'll
All
get
right.
into it in the next segment.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of that, let's hop on over. Obviously, great season to RFCLA, Miami Sharks, Old Glory DC, and the Seattle Seawolves. But hey, we got 4 teams left to talk about here coming up in a conference finals week that is going to be pretty exciting.
Rucking Rundown.
All right, time for a conference finals rucking rundown. Vandy, you weren't with us last week. It's prediction time for you, buddy, to talk out. We're giving you the benefit of the doubt here into picking these last 4 teams. Maddie, in these predictions, had got, what did you have? Seattle winning. Didn't
I
get
had
that.
Seattle, I had Chicago, I had New England, and I had Houston.
We were both 3-1. You were right
oh,
with Houston. I was wrong with RFCLA. I was right with Utah.
got a boy.
Vandy, Maddie doubting your boys and picking
Yeah,
Seattle
well,
there.
sounds about
So,
I
right.
didn't doubt
um,
them. I just really backed. I saw the dark horse there in Seattle.
so
Yeah,
we got
well,
again 4 teams left, 2 matches this weekend. We start off with the Chicago Hounds that play on Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time to take on the New England Free Jacks in a rematch of last year's conference final. This one's interesting because I think you could probably feel, based on our breakdowns, where we're headed, direction wise and favorite wise into this matchup. It's going to be interesting, and I think a lot of people will be backing the defending champs. Is there any way? I think is what the question will be. Is there any way, and how is there going to be that way that the Chicago Hounds may come out with
No,
the upset victory this one?
no.
Okay, why?
I'm not gonna say no because
I'm
Dallas
saying
beat
no.
Houston last year. So I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah, but this ain't Dallas. Dallas was sick.
Chicago's pretty cool.
The
Right.
reason why is I think part of it, for me at least, and my doubts with Chicago, is just they've been solid. The way they play is kind of similarly to that Houston style that we watched over the weekend. They kind of
But
bash you in the
worse.
mouth and try to just kind of put down there. Um, I don't think that is going to be good enough to beat a New England team, right? You got to find some of that election. Maybe Peyton Wall provides that for you, um,
Look,
but it's hard.
but like to me, like I watch that game and I see Chicago wins off of taking advantage of Old Glory DC mistakes.
Hmm.
And Old Glory DC made a lot of them. They made a lot of mistakes that game. They threw the ball away,
Hmm.
intercept try for Peyton, like off of, I think, who was it, Devoto
Yeah.
or Campbell maybe intercepted it and then passed the wall. Like they scored so much in that second half or the end of the first half, pretty much just off of Old Glory DC mistakes. The way that New England Free Jacks did this was they suffocated Miami. They put Miami under so much pressure offensively and defensively that Miami couldn't do anything. And if you're a Chicago team and you're hoping for a New England Free Jack team to make mistake in the playoffs, a place where they've been many times and where they're seasoned at playing in these high pressure moments, you're not going to get it. You're waiting for those moments. You're going to be waiting for a long time. And to me, New England Free Jacks, when they in their game against Miami, it could have been close, but they wrote their story and they said, we're going to play our style and you're not going to be able to even get to your style. Chicago, they kind of let the game come to them. And that's why when I watched the game, I just said, this isn't a championship team. Like you watch the championship team, you watch the New England Free Jacks the way they played against Miami.
Last year, New England winning the Eastern Conference Final 23-17. Throughout the regular season, split series, Chicago statement win.
This ain't the same New England team.
3 weeks into the year, yes, I agree, 36-7, and then facing the New England team that I guess picked it up towards the tail end of the year, 27-17 victory for New
Yeah.
England. So, what you're saying, Matt, is that we're probably going to see more of a reflective match of what we saw in round 13 rather than what we saw in round 3. And I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Again, it's hard to doubt this New England. Vandy, you on the same page?
I almost don't want to be, but I mean, how do you count them out? Yeah, give me New England.
All right. So I think we're all on board here. New England is booking a ticket to their a chance to go back to back to back. We'll see that. But we do have a side though that is going to look a little bit different. No Seattle
Ooh.
Seawolves, no San Diego Legion. Got two teams. We got the Houston Sabercats, who won their first playoff matchup in franchise history.
They stunk for a long time.
They
Just
did.
remember,
And
they
it's funny.
stunk.
It's funny reflecting on that because
Yeah.
we remember a time when the Houston Sabercats were the Anthem Rugby Carolina,
Yep.
right? Like,
Stunk.
which is crazy to think about. Utah has been kind of mediocre, for a lack
They
of
got a
better
bunch of
terms, for a long
Saffas.
time. And now look where they are now, here in the Western
Oh,
Conference Final. So this matchup taking place on Saturday as well, 9 o'clock Eastern time. So you got a lot of time to soak in that Eastern Conference Final, and then you got the Western Conference Final to break down later that evening. Maddie, you alluded to it about you have some tidbits you'd like to talk about on and taking
Yeah.
advantage of Houston. What's your thoughts on this one?
Look, Houston will play really well in a tight game. They'll play really well, especially, and if they're leading, they'll play even better because the way that they play, again, they will force you to play the full field. They will force you to come back from inside your 22 or at your 22, and they will say, we're going to play defense. We're going to play hard defense, and we're going to wait for you to make a mistake and have some discipline issues, which, Utah has been known to have. Now, when you look at Utah, Vandy, you know this. Utah is extraordinarily great at getting off to hot starts.
yes, we are.
Some slow
Joe
starts,
Bono
but they are
especially.
great at getting off to hot starts. Yes. Now, you score 14 points in the first 20 minutes. Houston's going to have to change something. Houston cannot play, we're going to give you the ball. At some point, they're going to have to play with the ball in hand down 14. And I think Utah, this perfect matchup, Utah versus Houston, I think it bodes very well for Utah. I think they can end up getting and have an explosive first half and just have to kind of hold on for the rest of it. It's going to be a tight game. They're going to have to play a full 80 minutes defensively, and they're going to have to settle their discipline issues in terms of, yellow cards. But like Houston's in for it here. If they let Utah get up early, Houston's not gonna be able to play the game that they want to play. And the other thing is like Houston takes a penalty anywhere close to within the 60 meters. Joel Hodgson's going to bang that into the corner, and Liam Coleman's going to put it in to the corner.
Or the way it just kicks it from 60-meter penalty kick.
Exactly. So that's why when I look at this matchup, this is a great matchup for Utah in my mind.
Vandy doesn't even have to say anything. I just know in his head, every time you're dropping a point there, Matty, it's like, amen, amen, hallelujah. That's music to my ears.
Yeah. You go.
I agree, though. I agree.
The only thing that scares me is we are historically bad against.
Yes.
We are historically bad against Houston. I think even this year, they pumped us one game. Pumped us.
Yeah, let me pull it up.
You need an 80. You need an 80 from the squad.
Season record here.
I don't think we beat them
2 times.
I don't think
Houston won both times.
But
Houston won both times by a margin of over 20 points. 37 to 17 in round 4. 40 to 19 in round 14.
Vandy, but let me say this. I have yet to see a Utah defense look the way that they did.
Yeah, I agree.
On the weekend.
Yep.
Like I haven't seen that before, maybe in flashes, but I haven't seen that for a full half. Well, now the question is, can they do it for a full 80?
It was everybody getting in on it. Like even Joel getting his head in there, getting turnovers. Like that's what it's going to take to beat this Houston.
Exactly.
That's what it's going to take.
Exactly. And the other thing is, there's a key piece of that Houston team that was probably playing both of those games, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And Davy Kutzer was, Davy Kutzer's offense.
A little different than AJ.
He changes that offense. Like he gives them the ability to come back in these games. So, he was probably there.
Round 14.
Ryan's fact checking this right now.
He was the starting fly half for both those matches.
Yeah. So, that's a big difference maker there. And when we see the lineup, if we do see Davy Kutzer in, I don't have any sources. Ryan, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, Ryan, you got your sources?
No, I got nothing.
So I think it's a different game, man. I think it's a different game. It's a different Utah team. It's a different Houston team. I feel positive for Utah.
Does your prediction change then? So I guess let's get it, Maddie. I think it's clear as day as who you're choosing here. I'm sticking with who I had in my prediction of a final, and I'm going with Utah for me. I had a Utah New England Free Jacks final heading into these playoffs, and I'm going to stick with that here. Vandy, I assume you're going Utah as well, and Maddie.
Yeah, we're going Utah because Seattle didn't win. I'm going Utah.
Okay. Even though you had Houston in your final.
Houston team?
I think Seattle no, because I had Houston beating Seattle.
That's right.
So I think Houston would have beat Seattle. I think now that it's Utah, I think it bodes some different questions, especially with the Utah that I saw last week.
Does your prediction change if we have a Davy Kutzer appearance?
Yes, it has to. I think Houston's offense and the potential of that offense to score points changes completely with Davy Kutzer in there.
Okay. So I'm sticking with my prediction. Utah, New England final. Utah's winning it. Vandy, you're obviously going Utah, New England final. Utah winning it. Maddie, you had Houston winning it.
New England, and I had Houston winning it.
So who are you choosing now?
So now we got to go, I guess, Utah, New England. And I'm going to go New England.
Okay. Take offense to that, Vandy.
Yeah, we've been saying how good the West is. Now we like the East. No.
Either way, the West is a lot better collectively. New England playing the way that they played on the weekend.
Playing the way that we play. You know what? We haven't even seen the best of Utah yet.
Hey, do it for 80 minutes this weekend, and maybe I change my mind.
All right. Well, hey, playoff chalk, like we said at the top of the episode. All favorites from last week's matchups here in the conference finals. Let's see whether or not, though, we've picked all favorites to win this upcoming conference final.
TFR
cool segue.
Betting Challenge.
All right, time for a TFR betting challenge. You like that, huh?
That was quick.
I like that.
All right.
And I like this one because we know the lines, and now I'm going to guess them, and you're going to tell me when I'm wrong.
Yeah, that is right. TFR betting challenge presented by Betstamp. Getting spicy here towards the final 2 weeks of the Major League Rugby year.
I think people need to get in on this if they haven't already. They need to use that link and find a betting platform that can bet on one of these games because it's playoffs time.
Yeah.
You know, when you bet, you know, when you put money down is when it matters.
That's
It's not
right.
just high pressure for the players, but it can be high pressure for you too.
And you can shift, you can shift that stress that you were contributing to fantasy MLR and shift that right on over to getting in on the action. Again, like Maddie said, use that link down below. Partner with Betstamp to give our listeners and viewers and supporters and community members the best new user deals at sportsbooks available in your area. The link curates all the sportsbooks that are available in your geolocated region. You hop on there, first time user, you get some free bets. Use those free bets to bet on some MLR, win some cash here. And we're going to break some of these odds down because it's playoff time. I guess the sports books are taking it a little bit more seriously, and it's odd. It's odd that we have the odds here this early into the week ahead of Saturday matchups. Like I said, though, getting spicy in this TFR betting challenge. Vandy, who is running away, was at a point I think was like $50 up on me.
Yeah.
And who has been slowly
You got that Seattle cover,
up.
Ryan.
Slowly creeping up. Yeah, damn right. That Seattle cover looked damn good. I will say, saving grace this week was the postponement of the RFCLA game because I did have RFCLA winning outright at like plus 150. And then because of the postponed game, DraftKings gave me back my money and said, here, if you want to bet on it again, you can do it. And then I saw it. I'm like, I'm getting cold feet. I ain't doing it.
You dog.
And
You would.
ended up keeping on making a profit here, winning $4 this past weekend to put me at $64 on the season. Vandy losing 5 on that parlay. Miami not covering. He has fallen to $82. I have now pulled
That was a nice cover.
within
That was a good one too.
$20. So we're going to see whether or not we can make that up here in these final 2 weeks. So with that being said, Maddie, we got the lines. We'll put to the test whether Maddie's MLR lines are just as good. We start off with
I got
Saturday.
it pretty good last week. I think I got it pretty good. I was close.
Let's see if we can even get even closer here this week. So 2 matches.
Instant gratification.
Chicago at New England. What do we got here? First of all, let's take it step-by-step approach. Who's the favorites?
New England.
Yes, you're right. Give me
New
the
England's
line.
a favorite. All right. New England is the favorite here. And Ryan, can you remind me, what was the line Chicago versus Old Glory DC?
Ooh, let me quickly pull that up. You're putting me on the spot.
I gotta know. This is research.
Stalling.
This is research.
Stalling. Chicago was minus 5.5 favorites against Old Glory DC.
There we go. So I see this as, and I've been thinking about this, and for some reason, 6.5 is just sticking in my head. And I think New England's going to be favored by 6.5 against Chicago.
Damn! Right on the money. Minus 6.5. New England favorited. You didn't look, did you?
I didn't look. I don't even have a platform to look.
Okay. It was posted in our Discord, so maybe I don't know if you.
I definitely have not looked there. But 6.5. That's
right on the money. Minus 6.5 favorites for New England. Before you get into what you like here, let's go right into the Houston Utah game. So who are the favorites?
Houston.
I think Houston.
Wrong.
What?
Utah favored. Now tell me by how much?
3.5. 2.5.
Wow. Utah favored? Yeah. That's gotta be. I'm gonna go with Van here. I think that's 3.5.
Do you need any research? Do you want me to tell you?
No research. Utah is favored by 3.5.
Close. Do you want to make? I'll give you one more guess. Close.
Lower or higher?
I can't tell you that.
Let's go 4.5 then.
Utah favored minus 2.5. So almost.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Under a kick.
That's a shame. That's a real shame because Utah being underdogs would have been such a filthy little pick.
They knew.
They did.
Hard to make an underdog at home, though, honestly.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
that is
hard,
true.
especially in the MLR. So we got, again, to
I like
recap,
none of these,
New
honestly.
England at -6.5 favorites. They are favored at -225. And then you have the Utah Warriors at the -2.5 line as favorites at -140. So almost a pick 'em for that
Uh,
Utah Houston
I,
game.
yeah, I would say like you're basically going money line to me. I think the pick here is probably money line parlay New England Free Jacks Utah. You hammer that. The riskiest one, I think, which I don't know how I feel about it, but Chicago covering. It's playoff rugby. 6.5 is a lot of points. But I did just watch New England Free Jacks absolutely smack Miami Sharks. So I don't
That
know.
six
That's
and
a
a
tough
half
one
line
for me.
scares me, man. Because
It's
I
yeah,
can.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Like I'm staying. I'm actually gonna. I've decided. I'm staying away from that one.
I
I'm staying
do
away
like
from it.
I do like that play. So let's I'm gonna punch that in right now, see what we get. So if you go straight up money line and parlay the New England Free Jacks and Utah Wars at this point, you get plus 147 odds. So you essentially double your money. You bet 10, you get $24.
I
Um,
think. I think that's the
so
play. I think that's the play. I was really expecting. I know Utah's home, but I really was expecting the books to take the Houston's regular season. Well, I guess Utah finished first, so I was yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
okay.
I thought Houston was going to be favored for some reason.
This is my last question. Is there any way that you parlay instead of the money line, you parlay the -2.5 for Utah? That boosts up your odds to 170 instead of
Yeah, minus two and a
140.
half is basically my. I think that's a good way to boost your bets.
So pay
Um, I would say sneaky little one. Davy Kutzer gets announced in the lineup, and the line stays the exact same. That Houston underdog becomes much more interesting.
that's what scares me because it's all about timing. The fact that the MLR has now put out these lines so early without the starting lineups. That's what makes it so interesting, right? In
Yeah,
football,
it's
you kind
pretty
of have a
wild to
sense,
do.
right? You kind of have a sense, but you don't know, right? And it's going to be interesting to see how these lines shift as more
I think
information comes out through the week. I
I
waited.
think you got to hold. I think you got to hold. I think the play here. If you're listening to this on what a Wednesday, you just got to
You know
hold.
what's
If my
Just got to
advice,
hold
my
here.
advice is if you're picking Utah, you
wait.
you no. If you pick Utah, oh well, yes,
No,
yes.
wait.
If you wait, if you're picking Houston,
Pick now.
now's the time to pick it
Yeah.
because if it can only go up from here, right? The Davy Coates news is only going to make the odds even closer. Who knows? They could even turn with 2.5. That could flip to
That could
Houston being the
flip
favorites
easily.
easily with a Davy Coates lineup. So that's my advice. Again, I think I agree. We're all in agreement here. I don't like the 6.5. We kind of expect what that's going to be like in terms of lineups. If you're going Houston this week, pick now because those odds can only get better or at least gets worse in terms of value. Utah, wait it out. See if that comes in any closer. Um, yeah, pretty good. Pretty. It's
I like
fun.
that
It's fun when
insight.
we have the lines. It's fun when we have the lines here. So hey, shout out to DraftKings and all the other sports books that already have the lines out here for MLR. All right, $20. We'll see whether or not Ryan can cover that here to
And then Ryan, when Utah makes the finals and New England
mm,
inevitably makes the finals, you're gonna put
mm.
the rest of your money on New England. I'll put the rest of my money on Utah.
No,
Because
why are you forcing me to pick New England? I picked
you would
Utah to
have
win
picked
it.
New England anyways.
No, I
We'll be
have
on
it
the
on
show
our
next
dog.
Monday and you would mad be like, "Oh,
No, 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 no. No, no, no. I have predicted. Watch the episode last week. I predicted a New England Houston final when we started this thing, and I picked, or New England Utah final, and I picked Utah to win it. So I'm right there with you, buddy, if that's the case. But we'll see. We'll
all right, we
see.
bet
We'll
it
see. We'll
all.
see.
And then we
All
double
right.
it or
Again,
lose it all.
TFR Betting Challenge brought to you by Betstamp. Check out that link down below to get in on the action. Have some fun with us here on the Fantasy Ruckers Show and try to see whether or not you can take advantage of some of those new user free bets and make some money here off of Major League Rugby. All right. Well, hey, exciting episode, exciting week that we got ahead of us. We're down to the conference finals. And again, 1 week away, just over 1 week away for the Fantasy Ruckers, shipping it out to Rhode Island. So excited to meet all of you guys out there. So excited to cap off what has been the best fantasy MLR season to date with what is going to be the best celebration of Major League Rugby that we've ever had. Matt, Vandy, anything else you want to say to the people as we wrap up the show?
If you come visit us, bring your beer caps, boys.
Hey, we'll even keep it nice and cool for you.
That's
Nice
right.
Koozie. There we go. Matt, anything for the people?
Yes, you're in for a wild one this weekend. I think it's going to be a fun weekend of rugby.
All right. Well, for Matt Yee, for Devin Vandy Vanderpool, I am Ryan Yee. And yeah, we'll see you next week on another episode of the Fantasy Ruckers Show.
Let's go. You've been listening to the Fantasy Ruckers Show, bringing fantasy rugby to the masses, covering everything rugby from the MLR and beyond. We hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review, and be sure to tell all your friends. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, connect with us on social media at the Fantasy Ruckers. Till next time, this is the Fantasy Ruckers Show, signing off.